My name is Sabrina. I'm a psychologist at Vida Psychology. I'm also a pansexual, cisgendered woman, and my pronouns are she and her. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about LGBTIQA+ language and why it's important and how you can start to use it. So why do we use language and labels? Language helps us to communicate and to connect. It also helps us to construct and express our identities. Language lets us create labels, which we can share with others and build communities. And as a culture grows and changes, so too does the language and labels that we use. It's important when you use language and labels that we do so conscientiously and with respect. While labels can be used to connect and start and build communities, they can also be used to stereotype, to discriminate, and to cause harm. Labels can cause harm when they're put on people who don't want them, or if they're dismissed as unimportant by people who do connect with them. Some people like having labels and may have several different ones to express their identities and their intersections, such as partner, parent, genderqueer, lesbian, non-binary, man, woman, trans, parent, child, teacher. There's so many of them, while others, they resist labels altogether. So what is inclusive language? Language becomes inclusive when it considers and respects the way people describe their own identities, bodies, genders, and relationships without making assumptions. We can make the language we use inclusive by using the words that someone uses to describe themselves, and doing so in a respectful and authentic way. Inclusive language helps to create a sense of belonging, acknowledging the diversity of those around us, and creates a space that's open, respectful, and safe for everyone. Inclusive language can help break down prejudice, stereotypes, and stigma, both intentional and unintentional stigma, and helps us to prevent violence. So how do I use inclusive language, you ask? Well, the best way to determine how to use LGBTIQA+ labels is to listen to LGBTIQA+ people themselves. But outside of that, here are some basic points that can be helpful. The first one is don't assume that everyone is heterosexual and in a couple with only two people. Avoid language that assumes heterosexuality, such as wife and husband, boyfriend and girlfriend, mum and dad, or couple. Instead, you could use things like partner, parents, relationship, in a relationship. Similarly, avoid language that assumes only two genders of women and men. For example, things like ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Also avoid assuming someone's gender identity, such as assuming that they're a man or a woman based on the stereotypes or assumptions that you may have. Examples of inclusive language when referring to groups of people could be everyone, family, friends, folks, team. Don't make an assumption about someone's identity, gender, sexuality, or relationships. So if you need to, you can respectfully ask them what terms they use. Also be mindful that being LGBTIQA+ isn't a personal choice or a lifestyle choice. Don't ask them why they choose an identity or what terms they prefer. Be mindful that this is their identity. Accept and respect someone's identity and the language they use to describe themselves, and don't question them or attempt to convince them otherwise. Just use the terms that they use. Pronouns are just as important as labels when being inclusive. It's important to use the correct pronouns for people. When you do this, you are validating and respecting their gender identity. Most, but not all men, including trans men, use the pronoun he, him, and most, but not all women, including trans women, use the pronoun she, her. However, it is important not to assume this. Some people use a gender-neutral pronoun, such as they, them, Some people use neo-pronouns such as ze, them, and some people avoid pronouns altogether and use their name at all times. So we can't just assume. If you are unsure about someone's pronoun, it's okay to ask them respectfully. Can I ask what pronoun you use? Before asking though, consider why you are asking. Do you need to know for a functional purpose, or are you just doing it out of curiosity? They, them can save you from needing to ask or making assumptions when meeting someone new. Alternatively, you can use a person's name instead of a pronoun until you know. Sometimes it can feel scary to use pronouns or inclusive language, just in case you make a mistake. Well, I'm here to tell you it's okay to make a mistake. No one will get everything right all the time. The most important thing is to try to use respectful language. And if you make a mistake, apologize and continue the conversation. Repeated mistakes, however, can show a lack of respect and may feel deliberate. This can be very distressing and exhausting for the person who has to constantly correct you or be mislabeled. Some things to avoid. Avoid using LGBTQIA+ terms in a derogatory way. For example, using the word gay in a negative way, either mockingly or in a derogatory tone. And avoid asking questions you don't need to know the answers to. Most people will find questions about their body or sexuality to be offensive or inappropriate. For example, some of the things people have probably heard. Are you really a man or woman? Did you used to be a man or woman? Are you sure you're gay / lesbian / bisexual? You really look straight. Who's the mother? Asking a same-sex parented family. But which one's the male in a relationship where both identify as women? These things, even when said as jokes, can be really hurtful and lead to a lot of harm and trauma for people who are constantly hearing them. Thank you for listening to my short video on LGBTQIA+ language. It's a great thing that you have taken the time to listen and to learn a little bit. And it's the first step to creating a respectful, open, inclusive and safe space for everyone. So again, thank you for your time. Until I see you next time. Bye.